My name is Megan McFadden, and today I will be talking about the effects of caffeine overuse on the body. The topics that I will be covering are caffeine as a chemical, how caffeine works in the body, the effects of moderate caffeine intake, overconsumption, withdrawals, long-term effects, and my personal experiences with caffeine overuse. Caffeine is chemically known as trimethylethane. It's a drug classified under stimulants. Caffeine works by increasing one's neurotransmitters, which are tiny chemical messengers found within the brain. These chemicals cause an excitement within the central nervous system, blood vessels, and kidneys, according to Cleveland Clinics. On a more scientific level, caffeine blocks the brain's adenosine receptors, which are what causes the brain to feel tired. Caffeine takes up to 30 to 60 minutes to work and can last up to 5 hours. There are many different variations of ways to consume caffeine. These include chocolate, gummies, patches, pills, and supplements. The most common is caffeine beverages such as coffee, tea, and energy drink. These are some photos of what it can be. Caffeine works by obstructing the chemical found in the brain called adenosine. This is the chemical formula of this compound. This chemical is involved in many human functions, including metabolic regulation, immune functions, and sleep. Caffeine is most commonly used to restrict tiredness. The use of caffeine leads to heightened vigilance and energy. Over time, when one consumes caffeine on a regular basis, the substance does not work as well as it used to, causing the upping of dosage. As more adenosine is blocked, the more that is produced. With the increase in use comes the increase of the effects that caffeine has. So what effects does caffeine have on the body mentally? Now that it's known how caffeine works in the body, it's time to focus on how it affects people mentally. Since the substance of caffeine affects the central nervous system, which includes your brain, it affects other chemicals within the brain. According to the article, Caffeine, Mental Health, and Psychiatric Disorders, written by Diego R. Lara, he states, moderate caffeine intake, which is less than 6 cups of coffee a day, has been associated with less depressive symptoms, fewer cognitive failures, and lower risk of suicide. 1 cup of coffee has approximately 95 milligrams of caffeine in it, meaning that someone could consume up to 570 milligrams of caffeine a day and still be fine, with caffeine still supporting the daily life of an individual. When overused, though, caffeine can affect someone differently. Lara also states, in rare cases, high doses of caffeine can induce psychotic and manic symptoms, and more commonly, anxiety. According to the U.S. Food and Drug Association, known as the FDA, the highest amount of caffeine that an adult can consume in a day without any negative side effects is 400 milligrams. With that in mind, what would happen if someone were to take over that amount? Taking over that amount is considered under overconsumption. Some common effects that happen with the overconsumption of caffeine, according to the FDA, include increased heart rate, heart palpitations, high blood pressure, insomnia, or sleep disruptions, anxiety, jitters, upset stomach, nausea, and headaches. The reason why so many people keep on consuming caffeine, despite all the negative effects, is that they don't have to deal with them, as keeping up with the addiction means that they don't have to go through any of the withdrawals. According to the National Library of Medicine, also known as NIH, common caffeine withdrawal symptoms include headache, fatigue, drowsiness, a decrease in energy or activeness, alertness, contentedness, depressed mood, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and brain fog. Withdrawals can be seen in every individual differently. Not everyone always experiences the same symptoms. Scientifically, the reason why this happens is due to the increase of blood flow in the anterior and cerebral arteries and decreased pulsatility index, which causes headaches. The drowsiness and reduced alertness is caused by the change within the electroencephalogram, also known as an EEG, which include the decrease of beta 2 power and the increase in theta power. Now knowing how the withdrawal symptoms work inside of the body in the short term, what about in the long term? In other words, how does caffeine overuse affect the body long term? When it comes to long-term effects of caffeine overuse on the body, there are many health problems that correspond. According to Alberta, on the long-term effect of caffeine, they say, regular use of more than 600 milligrams of caffeine a day might cause long-term effects such as sleep problems, thinning of bones and fractures, more anxiety, and stomach acidity. It can increase blood pressure, and if you already have high blood pressure, it can get worse. It's important to understand the consequences of consuming high doses of caffeine, as it's important to protect your own health. When looking at the effects, each of those symptoms can cause a shorter lifespan, and this is how. High blood pressure can lead to strokes or heart disease. Poor sleep weakens the immune system. It increases the risk of diabetes, heart problems, and depression. The thinning of bones, also known as osteoporosis, causes an increase of bone breakage, which can be fatal for people in their older ages. Anxiety can lead to risky behaviors or aggravate other health conditions. Nonetheless, if one can recognize their addiction and overuse of the stimulant and cut back, their body could bounce back effectively. My personal experiences with caffeine overuse have caused me to cut down. When I first started consuming caffeine, I would take pre-workout before the gym. Little did I know that it would cause a domino effect. My pre-workout went from having 150 milligrams to 333 milligrams of caffeine, and I was taking this every single day. As I started to get a busier schedule, I would sometimes add in a cup or 3 of coffee, and sometimes even a couple espresso shots, meaning I was consuming up to 270 milligrams of caffeine at the time. As time continued to go on, I started to have a little extra boost by consuming an energy drink or two that had about 200 milligrams of caffeine each. With all of that in mind, in my prime, I was consuming on average 800 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is more than the recommended. Some physical aspects that I noticed due to my overconsumption of this chemical was how I was feeling drowsy and lightheaded when the effects of the substance was almost over. I also would get headaches if I didn't drink caffeine periodically. When I noticed that I had a problem with caffeine, I started to move my doses down in an attempt to prevent withdrawal symptoms. If I started to get a headache, I would take a nap if I could, or I would drink water and try and release the tension that I was having. I also noticed I tended to have a higher anxiety level at the time and was very shaky. My personal experiences with the overconsumption of caffeine has made me want to get this problem out there and try and help other people who are struggling and prevent people from acquiring this addiction just like I did. Although caffeine can have positive effects on someone if used in moderation, so less than 400 milligrams a day, the overuse of the substance has various negative effects on the body. Having over 600 milligrams of caffeine regularly and for a long duration of time causes effects such as high blood pressure, poor sleep, and an increased risk in diabetes, heart problems, and depression, which can affect the lifespan of an individual consuming this substance on a daily basis for a long period of time. When individuals attempt to lower, cut back, or cold turkey caffeine, many experience withdrawal symptoms, which include headache, fatigue, drowsiness, a decrease in energy, alertness, contentedness, depression, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and brain fog. In conclusion, the overuse of caffeine causes more bodily harm than good. Thank you, and those are the effects of caffeine overuse. overuse on the body.